Bacteria Exploring the Landscape of Health Through the Vaginal Microbiome. So what is a microbiome? What defines a microbiome are the microorganisms in an environment, including the body and parts of the body. Microbiomes include, they're found in the gastrointestinal part of the body, the mouth, and even the vaginal microbiome, which is a dynamic microecosystem that protects us from outside bacteria and maintains a healthy ecosystem within the vagina. Now, microbiomes maintain stability but change throughout time and stages of development. Okay, so starting with the initial development of the vaginal microbiome, we're going to start in the uterus. So when a fetus is developing in the uterus, they're developing in a very stable and sterile environment to protect the baby from pathogens. However, when the baby is ready to exit and the mother gives birth, the baby passes through the vaginal canal where it is exposed to lactobacillus bacteria, which is a probiotic because it leads to the healthy development of tissues and organs in the body. So lactobacillus is what we're going to call the MVP of the vaginal microbiome. It is the main component that is crucial to maintaining a healthy and thriving vaginal microbiome. Now, as that baby exits the vaginal canal, it comes into contact with this lactobacillus bacteria, and that is the initiation of the colonization of the lactobacillus within that fetus's vaginal microbiome. The baby will then continue on to have skin-to-skin contact with the mother and breastfeed, where it continues to get some of that bacteria that grows its microbiome within the vagina, but also within other parts of the body like the mouth and gastrointestinal microbiome. Now, following infancy, the vaginal microbiome will remain relatively stable with a stable pH. Stable microbiome will fall between a 4.5 and a 5. Now, when the baby grows and reaches puberty, you see increases in estrogen levels, right? And these increases in estrogen levels are when we start to see more of that lactobacillus bacteria start to grow in that vaginal mucus. And we see a lowering of the pH, right? This is a time, as you'll see, that as the pH goes lower, the lactobacillus increases and typically estrogen also increases. Okay, so following puberty, a woman enters reproductive age once she has that stable lacto-dominant vaginal microbiome, right? And once in reproductive phase, we start to follow the menstrual phase and the changes there. So during menstruation, there is a decrease in the lactobacillus, and this is during the menstrual phase of the menstrual cycle. There's a decrease in the lactobacillus bacteria, which increases the pH, right? And so there's also a diversity in bacteria during the menstrual phase, but that decrease in lactobacillus bacteria actually creates more susceptibility to some more harmful disease-causing bacteria here. And examples include Gardnerella, vaginalis, Streptococcus, Staphylococcus, and these are some of the pathogens that can lead to diseases such as bacterial vaginosis, UTIs, and they can increase your chances of acquiring an STD or an STI. Now, during the follicular phase, estrogen comes back, the estrogen rises as the lactobacillus bacteria. We see the more acidic vaginal microbiome as the pH decreases, and that once again creates that inhospitable environment for this bad bacteria over here. And during the ovulatory, the midpoint in the menstrual cycle, a surge in estrogen. So we see more estrogen, more lactobacillus bacteria, and we have a very stable, proactive, and thriving vaginal microbiome. Now, during the luteal phase, there's actually an increase in progesterone. And with that increase in progesterone, there is a decrease in the lactobacillus, an increase in the pH, and increase in susceptibility to bacteria. So menstruation and luteal are those phases where you are more likely to potentially get something such as bacterial vaginosis. Okay, and that continues in a cycle, of course, until reaching menopause, right? Well, and before menopause, right, in that reproductive age, if you do become pregnant, there is a huge shift in the vaginal microbiome. So we see increase in progesterone, and we also see there's actually a decrease in the lactobacillus, a slight increase in the pH, right? So less acidic environment, and we see an introduction of some new bacteria, not necessarily harmful, but because it is a developing fetus, we need more diversity in bacteria to support the growth of that fetus. All right, so the lower lactobacillus and increase in diversity of bacteria. Now it's interesting, there is research that actually links changes in unstable vaginal microbiomes to preterm births. And preterm births are one of the leading causes of infant mortality. All right, and then of course following that reproductive stage is menopause. And now during menopause, we know that there's a decrease in estrogen and therefore a decrease in the lactobacillus that's found in the vaginal microbiome. An introduction of some diversity in bacteria that's in the vaginal microbiome. A less stable environment, which we know can once again make that vaginal microbiome more susceptible to some of this bacteria. But overall, the vaginal microbiome will adapt, right, to protect the vagina, and will introduce different bacteria and if you maintain a healthy and stable environment, that will reflect in the vaginal microbiome. There are a few things you can do. So how can you harm your vaginal microbiome? Well, smoking, excessive consumption of alcohol, and drug use are immunosuppressants, and they will disrupt the endocrine system and make the vaginal microbiome more susceptible to disease. Unprotected sex can actually change one's microbiome because it is fluid and bacteria from another person entering your biome, and that can change what is present. It can introduce bacteria, and that can lead to bacterial vaginosis, bacterial yeast infections, UTIs, STI acquisition, even cancer progression, and IVF failure. Remember, a higher pH environment always makes the vagina more susceptible to disease. But there are lots of ways you can take care of your vaginal microbiome. Consuming probiotics, omega-3 fatty acids. Cranberries are known to prevent UTIs. Any antioxidant-rich foods like leafy greens and berries, and vegetables can actually help the mucosal surfaces from oxidative stress. And that is where that lactobacillus bacteria lives, on the mucosal surfaces. Staying hydrated to maintain the mucosal integrity and maintain a balanced environment by flushing out toxins. Just a little visual. So wearing cotton underwear can actually help your vaginal microbiome breathe, get some oxygen. Using protection with others. Not using soaps internally, and maybe very sensitive soaps externally, because that can kind of kill some of the healthy bacteria that is working within your vaginal microbiome. Using probiotics if needed, drinking water, and peeing after sex can help prevent those UTIs. The last thing I want to mention is studying the microbiome as a part of your study in medicine or biology is crucial. Because of the history of inequity in the health field, women's health specifically has really been underrepresented and under-researched. So a lot of the information that I just presented, it's just the beginning of what we know about the vaginal microbiome, because this research is still relatively new. So I would encourage you to continue to read, continue to explore, and ask questions as you learn about topics like the vaginal microbiome. Thank you.